Portugal, Estonia, Switzerland, Bolivia. There's like 7 countries. I always forget them. Amsterdam. There's like 7 countries that have treated addiction on the exact opposite of how Americans treat it.
Yeah.
As a medical issue, get help, get you into treatment, support you, fund you, give you money, give you a purpose, give you a job, make you enjoy life again, and they've had great success. I've never tried drugs. I've never been intoxicated, never been arrested, don't smoke, don't drink, but I also don't judge. I'm all for legalization. Because I've seen working in the jails here in Broward and Palm Beach and booking 90% of the men and women coming through are for stupid stuff, hiding marijuana or drugs, or people who want help. I never met somebody in my time in fire rescue, my time working booking at Gun Club in Palm Beach or main jail here in Broward. I never met somebody like you coming through when you would admit. I'd say, how many drugs do you tell me? And I said, have you ever had treatment? I've never met somebody who said, no, I like being messed up. You know what? I like knowing if I'm not going to be dead or alive tomorrow. I enjoy selling my body for sex. I like ripping people off to get my next hit. I like putting my mom or dad through hell. I enjoy not knowing where I'm going to sleep tonight. No! Most everybody tells me, you know what, I've tried, I wish I could, I can't. This is it, I'm trying, I relapse, I recover. This is it. This is the problem. We still don't, in America, realize it's a public health problem. It's a medical issue. It's not a criminal problem. You're not morally deficient. You're a lot less than me. No way. I don't judge. Listen, I know my stuff, this sounds crazy, but I'll give you an example. My girlfriend and I are hardcore disco dancers. We hustle. And it's like an addiction. We spend money we don't have. We're out late. It affects work. We're exhausted. It gets in the way of our life. It's not the same as drugs. But the point I'm making is everybody's got something. Every normie, everybody who judges you, I apologize. Because they can sit there and judge you. But they might be addicted to Jesus or exercise or working or food or sex. And those are all things that are not considered bad. But alcohol and drugs are considered bad. So anyway, getting back to that. The biggest problem we have is that it's still viewed in the U.S. as a criminal problem, not a public health problem. And that's in Portugal. As you said, legalize everything. So they legalize possession and use, personal possession. They still made it legal to produce the drugs or to traffic in them. Yeah, you still go to prison. But you know what they did that year? They had like a bunch of opioid, Oxycontin-related murders. They had a spike, and they looked at it, and they were amazing. They put together a national commission in Portugal. It's not as big, but it's not tiny. A commission of medical people, folks in recovery, public safety, fire rescue, addiction therapists, mental health therapists, doctors. They put them together. They said, we need to change our focus. So what they did, they wiped out, they decriminalized everything. So what did that do? If they had to release everybody, it immediately, you don't need to spend $10 million on jail, $20 million on guards. They took that money and they made those federal prisons. There's like four large Portuguese federal prison treatment centers, inpatient voluntary treatment centers. They took that money that they were no longer spending on police and correction, and they put it towards quality of life. I've learned a lot myself. I didn't have much stigma, but again, I've had to check myself and my peers. They are the worst judging. But quick story. I did a giveaway in Miami, Valentine's Day, like 4 years ago. Office building, I had all day of classes on Valentine's Day before the pandemic, and people were coming. It was an office building, very well-dressed people, lawyers, business people, lots of offices. My last class of the day, around 3 o'clock, I'm packing up. Lady comes to me, very well-dressed. I really thought she was a lawyer. She came with a briefcase. She sat in the back. She didn't talk much during the class. We do her class. I'm packing up all my stuff. She's saying, great class. I said, oh, thank you. And I said, I got to pack. Don't mean to be rude. She goes, no. She goes, you're right. Sometimes it takes people a while. I go, yeah, it does. Sometimes people have to overdose again and again before they get clean. And then she said, sometimes people have to overdose 13 times before they get clean, and I stopped. And I said, wow, I'm so sorry. Was that somebody you know or love who overdosed 13 times? She looked at me, she said, me. And I said, no way. I mean, she looked gorgeous. She looked professional. She had a briefcase. She looked like a lawyer. And I was just flabbergasted. Forgive me, you do not look like somebody who had a problem. She goes, I did. 5 years ago, she said she was in a bad relationship. But when she caught me, that was the first time I had met somebody who told me they'd been Narcan that many times. She said, I got Narcan my 13th time. I finally got clean and sober. And I was blown. So the point is this. It doesn't matter how many times you go into treatment. It doesn't matter how many times you fall off. It doesn't matter how many times you spray somebody. A dead person will never recover. That's the only thing that is true there. So let's go to the next myth and misconception. Most people assume that people are overdosing in sober homes, in treatment centers, at private homes. But no. Where are most people dropping and 911 calls happening? What location?
Jobs. Where people spend most
Businesses,
time.
yes, or where? Where? Cars, very good. That's right. Ground zero for opioid overdoses in America is vehicles, cars, and bathrooms of 6 main types of businesses, the places we all go to. Fast food establishments, gas stations, convenience stores, pharmacies, big box retail stores, and coffee shops. That is where overdoses occur, in the bathroom or in the car. That's where people are dropping dead. Most 911 calls. Now, most overdoses do occur in a home setting. They occur in a sober home or they occur in a private home, but that's where most deaths occur. Why? People are found hours later, the next morning, like somebody mentioned. But generally speaking, if you keep your Narcan, we'll give you in your pocket, we'll do it all the time. Keep it in your purse. If you have 2, put one in your glove compartment, put one in your purse or pocket. Because we all go to these places, right? We go to Dunkin' Donuts. We go to a Burger King, gas station, 7-Eleven, pharmacy, Walmart. We go to those places. Overdoses have also occurred here in Southeast Florida in places that we wouldn't expect them. Churches, temples, gyms, malls, high-end restaurants, anywhere. An overdose can occur anywhere. So if you have your Narcan, you're probably going to save their life more so than just CPR only. Yes, sir. And I appreciate you listening. I mean, you'll be surprised at the end. It takes a minute to show you how, but I want you to understand so much about the Narcan. So Narcan. Narcan is high dosage. You're giving them 4 times what the ER gives them, 10 times what most police give them. So there is a concern. You don't want to put them into withdrawal. Narcan can cause withdrawal. It's not meant to cause withdrawal. That's another misconception, another legend, that people think Narcan is meant to put them in withdrawal. It is not. One person, one time, one emergency is usually all that you need. And if you give them 1 spray of 4 milligrams, you probably will not put them into withdrawal. The challenge is you can get this at CVS or Walgreens, so spread the word on your social media. You're all going to get a spray today from us. But anybody you know, family, friends, co-workers, quote-unquote normies, people who care but who aren't battling drugs, they can go to CVS or Walgreens. Anybody can go to CVS or Walgreens and ask for a Narcan. They'll order it, they'll get a box in a day or 2, and then it's a matter of paying for it. If you have health insurance, Obamacare, Humana, PPO, Veterans, TRICARE, Standard Insurance, Medicare, Medicaid, any of those, most of them will pay for 1 box a year for us if we're not in recovery, if we're not on pain meds, if we're not under addiction treatment. For those of you who are taking pain meds or in recovery, they'll give you a box every month. All you have to do is pay your copay. So if you normally have a $5 or $10 or $20 copay, whatever, for your prescription for Z-Pak, for penicillin, that's what they're going to charge you for this. The challenge is, if you go to CVS or Walgreens, the pharmacy, and the pharmacist hands you a box of 2, and you didn't sit through an hour class with somebody, and there's an emergency, and they're dropping dead and dying, and you have a box of 2 in front of you. What do you think most people do when they have a box of 2 and it's an emergency?
Read it.
They did. She just said it. Say it again, Lisa. They'll use 2. Okay, so this is important. Like Mike Weather, the last time you had a South Florida recovery, gave you guys Narcan, they didn't do an expensive class. This is important for me, not just because Lisa and I buy it through our nonprofit, we buy it full price, but we normally give out 1 spray because we don't want you to spray twice. That is counterproductive. I'm not saying that Narcan is bad. I'm not saying that you're giving too much. I'm saying that you're giving more Narcan than is necessary, and you therefore put that person at risk of withdrawal. Okay, so that's important. So, like Lisa said, if you go to the pharmacy and they give you a box of 2 and someone's dead and you're pumping, you're waiting, and your heart is racing, and you think it's taking forever, you're going to give them one, and then when they're not better, you're going to give them another. You've just given them 8 milligrams. That is 8 to 16 times what the ER fire rescue will give them. For a reason, they don't give them that much. We do not want to put them into withdrawal. We don't want to cause projectile vomiting. We don't want to cause high blood pressure, which can happen if you give them a higher dosage of Narcan. Question, you had your hand up. Yeah.
Yeah, my girlfriend overdosed. We saved her. I had to keep giving her CPR. I didn't know how to do it, but I remember what I learned. And by the time they got there, she was still alive. And they had to spray her 5 times just to get her back.
Did you come back? You left?
Yes.
Good, very lucky. That is rare, but when you say they, it was the paramedics who did it.
Yeah.
Okay, but here's the thing you have to remember. Did anybody remember how many milligrams I said the paramedics are giving at a time? 1. So when they sprayed it with 4 or 5, they're giving basically another spray. Okay? They're only giving 1 milligram at a time in the ER fire rescue. So understand, you have in your pocket, you're all going to leave with a high dosage, 4 times what the fire rescue is giving. Okay? So that's important. Yeah, occasionally you need to, but go back to what I said earlier. You're never, ever going to give somebody an extra dose in general in a big city in the USA or somewhere the cops and firemen arrive in 4 or 5 minutes. In general, you don't need it. The only time you're going to give somebody a second spray is when you have absolutely no response to that first spray. There is no color improvement. There's no movement, no gurgling, no chest rising, no pulse, no breathing. They're not getting it all better. They're no longer responding. That's when, and only when, you give them another spray. If there's no response to the first spray in 3 or 4 minutes, you just got to hang tight, slow your own breathing, because you're going to be so pumped. Pump on their chest, and just even if you have a box of 2, really resist the urge to give them 2. It's highly unlikely. 91% of the time, somebody asked me about stats, the 5-year study, and this is 91% of the time, people are being resuscitated with 1 spray. And a couple of other interesting tidbits that we've learned in 5 years since the spray's been done. Most out of hospital resuscitations of overdose victims are not being done by the police or fire department anymore. Did you know 60% of them now across the country are people like you, people who see other people like us, whomever. Citizens are reversing overdoses 60% of the time now.
Wow.
And only 10% of U.S. police departments carry Narcan. We're very lucky down here that most police departments down here carry Narcan. Okay, I'm going to show you how to use it in a second, but understand, you give them much more Narcan than they'll probably get. Right now, if you call 911, Pompano Beach shows up, the sheriff shows up, and even if they're right here, collapse here, and we're pumping on their chest, they're only going to give them 1 milligram at a time, probably. And here's why. According to the American Heart Association Code Blue guidelines, I used to teach for 26 years when I was with Fire Rescue. If a narcotic overdose is suspected, we give 0.5 to 1 milligram. And then so that's where we get to 1 milligram. That's why they only give 1 milligram. If a narcotic is suspected, administer 1 milligram, repeat as needed every 2 or 3 minutes. The next, it says base, and then it says line. It says, but if fentanyl is suspected, administer 2 milligrams rapidly, wait a minute, and then be prepared to administer another 2 milligrams rapidly. How much does that give you? 4. That's why the FDA approved it 5 years ago to give 1 blastum with 4 milligrams of Narcan. So understand, the fire rescue medics who show up here, I can either show up, set up an IV, and I can either say I'll give them 1 milligram or I can give them 4. It's my judgment as the paramedic. Really, truly, in that moment, they're going to play God. And what I learned in my 28 years is most paramedics, most ER folks, if they haven't battled the disease, if they're not in recovery, if they don't work at an addiction program, if they don't know about this, they judge it. It makes no difference to me as the policeman, the ER folks, the fire rescue guys, the paramedic, whether I give you 1 milligram or 4. 4 milligrams, you're probably going to come back to life. 1 milligram, you may or may not come to life. I don't care. I'm being honest with you. Most of them don't care. Why? I'm still going to go back to the police station, the fire station. I'm still going to make my $100,000 a year, my pension for life. And you might be dead, but I still get the same paperwork. They don't care. The only time I learned that they cared, like I said, going back to fire rescue, when I started my Facebook project, I had a buddy, a captain, call me, and that guy ripped into me. He was like, do you need help? Are you in drugs? I'm like, no. Didn't you read my post? I said, I'm buying Narcan through setting up a nonprofit to save lives. He ripped into me and said, don't you get it? You're an idiot. You're part of the problem. Those junkies are going to overdose. This was a retired fire rescue captain. A year later, he reached out to me and said, listen, I reached out on Facebook because his wife had cancer. He posted. I said, I'm really sorry. how's it going? Blah, blah, blah. She's getting better. And then he said, I owe you an apology. And I go, for what? And he said, remember a year ago? I go, don't worry about me. I know how you feel. He said, no, I owe you an apology. I'm like, why? He said, well, I judged you, and I thought they don't get better. They're junkies. And he started crying. He said, until I found out my 18-year-old kid is hooked on opioids. And I felt so bad. He got me treatment. But the point is, until somebody, even the people we think are there to help us, until they themselves are in recovery, or they lose somebody, or they work for an addiction center, or they work a 12-step program, until they themselves are touched by the disease of alcoholism or addiction, they don't get it, they don't understand, and they judge. Let me just look at my time here. Okay, so Narcan reverses any opioid. It's very simple. If you find somebody who's passed out, who's more dead than alive, you shake and shout, hey, are you okay? You do a sternal rub. We want you to take your knuckles and rub slowly and then hard. If you've ever done that to somebody who's been really drunk or they've been really sleepy and they're snoring, you'll wake them up. They'll be mad, but you'll wake them up. But if somebody doesn't respond and you're rubbing their sternum, if you rub them really hard, honey, if you want to have one more gentleman, give him a certificate. You want to stay for the class? We're almost done. You'll get a spray and a certificate. Okay, that gentleman. If you rub their chest really hard, not the sternal rub, you will always, always, always wake them up, other than when they're dead or dying, when they're in cardiac arrest or arrest. So yes, you rub them, you do that sternal rub, that's very important. That's how you determine whether they're in cardiac arrest or arrest, whether they're in a severe life-threatening overdose. Did I answer it?
So I'm an alcohol drinker.
Yeah. It'll wake you up.
I've had 20 of those at least, and wake up in the emergency room with PICC lines in me, this, that, the other. And I'm like, why would you put an $1,100 PICC line in me? I would just as soon let me die.
Right.
Why
because you didn't respond to the sternal rub.
Yeah, obviously long enough to get a PICC line, right?
Were you also taking sub-drugs?
No, alcohol.
Just alcohol. Okay, yeah. That's rare, but yeah. If you're that unresponsive, we're probably going to do CPR. We're going to assume you're in cardiac arrest.
How do I stop you guys from doing that? Do I get a do not resuscitate
that won't
band?
A lot of people think a tattoo does. No. You need to have a, you can get a do not resuscitate or Google it. You can wear a wristband or a necklace. Yeah.
Do you actually check that?
We do.
Because I like to bring your behavior to a stop on that fact.
Yeah. They'll do that if you have a wristband or a necklace.
They'll just let me lay there, right?
Do not resuscitate order.
Okay.
Sir, yes, sir. We're talking about Narcan. Thanks for joining.
Sure.
Narcan,
I'm
yeah.
ready to go home to Jesus.
Go ahead.
CPR.
Let me lay there.
Hold on, sir. Yeah. Go ahead.
When you're doing CPR now, do you have something that you put in the person's mouth that you blow in? Or?
You came great and good time. I'm going to cover that next. Give me a minute. Thank you. So getting back to this. So everybody understands up to this point what it works on. You came in a little late, sir, but we're talking about Narcan. We'll give you all Narcan, which will save somebody's life if they've ingested fentanyl. Fentanyl, the main thing that's killing everybody. Pardon me. What's that? Fentanyl is an illicit drug that's lacing cocaine. It laces anything. This is important. Even if somebody's only using benzodiazepine or cocaine or methamphetamine, they might not have known fentanyl within there. Maybe they don't shoot up. Maybe they don't do heroin. But the fentanyl is being placed in there by drug dealers. It comes from China. A lot of it comes from Mexico. They fill up the drug. The fentanyl is what's killing everybody. It's not the other drugs. It's the fentanyl. Anyway, so you find somebody collapsed. You have a client here who's unresponsive. And if that person, he or she, wherever you're at, the first thing you want to do is try to shake and shout, hey, are you okay? Tap their shoulder really hard. Wake up, are you okay? Then, if you know how to check for a pulse, check for a pulse. You can listen, put your ear down and listen for breathing, okay? Check for pulse, listen for breathing. See if their color's okay. See if they're moving up and down, if their stomach is rising, if they're gurgling, if they're making noises, or if they're totally out of it, okay? If you think they're in bad shape or they're not responding, or they might need CPR, or they might need mouth-to-mouth, or they might need the paramedics, call 911, get ready to spray them. As I said earlier, for those of you who came in a little late, if you're not sure, it's okay. You can't help them, you won't hurt them. If you give it to somebody who's having a heart attack or a stroke, you won't help them, you won't hurt them. If you give it to somebody who's ingested alcohol, or it's not an opioid, it's a cocaine overdose, you won't help them, you won't hurt them. People cannot get allergic to Narcan. They don't become addicted to Narcan. Some people assume because the name says narc, it's got no. When it came out in 1971, it was for narcotic cancellation drug. That's why it's called Narcan. So anyway, so Narcan has no narcotic in it. People cannot get addicted to it. You won't be allergic to it. It will work. Even if this person's overdosed 10 or 11 times this month, it'll work. In general, if you get them with the right dosage, one spray, 4 milligrams, that's what's going to save their life if you can reach them in 6 to 8 minutes after they collapse. So The main thing is you shake and shout, determine responsiveness, make sure they're totally out of it. Okay, that's the most important thing. If they're not totally out of it, they might need paramedics, they might be overdosing, but you don't insert the spray, everybody clear, unless they're more dead than alive. Unless you think they're totally out of it. Unless you think they might need CPR. Okay? So you might need to call 911. They might be overdosing. A client might be out of it. He or she is overdosing. You call 911, but don't spray them unless they're in bad shape. They have to be more dead than alive. So again, you rub their chest really hard. You do the sternal rub. You shake and shout. You shake and shout. You see if they're breathing, if they have a pulse. You try to determine if they're responsive. And if not, then you need to call 911. Very important, folks. This is really important for you guys. Because you could encounter somebody at a sober facility or in a 12-step room. What's the matter? Is everything okay? Okay. And somebody overdoses, and you could have been pumping on their chest. They could have been dead. You could have been doing CPR. They looked horrible. They were dead or dying, and you spray them, call 911, and they wake right up, and they tell you, I'm fine, I'm okay. And how many of you have seen CPR, the Narcan spray used, and how quickly they woke up, right? Like right away. Even if they look dead, right? Blue, gray, or purple, you're pumping on their chest. That, for those of you who've never seen it, this is important because they will be dead or dying. They did need CPR mouth to mouth. They were out of it. They were in bad shape. But the minute you spray them, half the time, within a minute or two, half the time, they wake up like Lazarus in the Bible or like Pulp Fiction. They'll wake up from dead and they're telling you, no, I'm okay. Don't call 911. I don't want to go. I don't want to go. The reason you need to force them, you need to call 911. You have to throw away your friendship. Otherwise, you're risking them dying. They could have a second overdose in 90 minutes, even if they don't go out and use again. If you let them stay at home, if they go in the silver room, you don't tell the folks here, it's okay, I won't tell anybody, they could wake up dead in 90 minutes. This wears off in 90 minutes. And even if they haven't injected any more drugs, if it's been 90 minutes, and they did not go to the ER to get medically supervised, because they might need more Narcan in the ER. 90 minutes is crucial. After 90 minutes, they're safe. But they need to go to the ER by 911, not by car, not by Uber. Okay? So anyway, so you're about to spray somebody. You find somebody who's more dead than alive. Blue, gray, or purple. No pulse. No breathing. No response to sternal rub. No response to loud shouting. Doesn't look like they're breathing. No gurgling. No stomach rise. No pulse. They're out of it. They're more dead than alive. You say, hey, you call 911, get the AED. You come over here. You call 911. You get the AED. You come over here and do CPR. Again, you need to, if there are people around, call 911. Go look for an automatic defibrillator. Come here and do CPR. You pull out your Narcan that you have, and then and only then when you're ready to do it, you stick it in their nose all the way in. It goes all the way in, okay? It doesn't matter which nose. And then you push the button, and that's how you administer a high dosage, life-saving naloxone hydrochloride. You will bring them back from the dead. Again, it doesn't matter which nose. Gentlemen, you have a question, comment? No? Okay, we're almost done. We're almost done. I appreciate your patience. It doesn't matter which nose. It doesn't matter if their nose is blocked up, if it's congested, if they have blood or saliva, it will work. You only do one person, one spray, once in their nose. So again, that's the important thing. One person, one time. Here's another thing you may not know, even if you've administered it. Who else did this work on? Would you be shocked to hear if it works on animals? It works on babies. This spray, one size fits all. It'll work on your grandma, your 90, 100-year-old mom who accidentally took an extra pain pill. It'll work on a 10-year-old kid who was at the swimming pool and accidentally found a bag of drugs. It'll work on a 17-year-old girl who was at senior prom, graduating from high school, and somebody gives her a party, her first time ever ingesting a pill. That will work on them. It'll work on a 1-day-old baby. Okay, so Narcan is one person, one size fits all. Okay, everybody clear on that? I'm about done with all my information here. It works in animals, it works on people, one person, one time, one emergency. Now I will take any questions you have. Yes, it was different in the 80s, the 90s, the early 2000s. You did not have fentanyl. Fentanyl laces everything. But to answer your question, exactly why would somebody take it? Very few people go out and seek it. Some do, but most people don't know fentanyl is in the drug you just bought from your neighborhood or street corner drug dealer. They don't know. Good. Any other questions? Questions, comments? Yes, sir.
So is the reason for the porthole of entry, the nostrils, so that the Narcan gets to the brain? Or what would it do to saliva in the mouth?
No. The only reason is because it's a high dosage, it's got a string. It's the fastest, easiest way for an untrained 10-year-old kid to administer. Okay. Any other way is IV, IM, and the trach deal. Yeah. Now, the nose is the best sealed route. Good question.
Gotcha.
Sir.
What's the purpose of using on animals?
Okay, so here you go back when you got time. Google a dog saved by Narcan. Not just police dogs, but regular dogs, civilian dogs. If you've ever owned a dog, you might say they don't do drugs, but do your dog pull on you? Do they go sniffing everything they find? Do they stick their head in the bushes? Absolutely. Overdoses can occur even in wealthy communities anywhere. So if you have a dog, or any animal, but it's mostly dogs. There have been like 50 dogs reversed in 5 years. So somebody finds their dog, they're walking, they collapse suddenly, they rush them to a vet. The vet is smart enough to spray them with Narcan, with the Narcan spray. That's why they got into it when you were walking them. Good question, good question. Any other questions, comments? So now, thanks to, again, I'm going to thank Lorraine for coordinating this. Thank you for filming. Lisa, my assistant. Again, find me Luis Garcia, Narcan, USA Opiate Pricing. We're going to gift you all. We're going to give you a certificate of training. Lisa will handle that. Lorraine is going to hand each of you one Narcan spray. If you're willing to wear a wristband, if you wish, I wear it that says, I'll save a life. I carry Narcan. We'll give you those. And that's it. Hopefully you'll be ready to save a life. Sure, question.
Now, you said that could be carried in your pocket. Obviously,
Yeah.
we don't have to leave it in the box, right?
You don't have to. I don't recommend you have it in the box.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
you're not going to get a box.
won't-
You're going to get a single spray.
Right, but what about the chances of it going off wherever
Good.
you're carrying it?
Very good question. Okay, I'll open one box here, and what you're going to see is it comes in a box.
Uh-huh.
You're all going to receive one single spray. I'll leave you a couple of extra boxes to donate, and Mr. Storch here for the
I'll
facility.
take that
So
one there.
you'll come. Okay.
Oh, okay.
You got the red button.
It's
You want.
protected.
There's no way for you to accidentally hit it. It's got a barrier here, but there's no needle. It's not sterile. You could actually take it out and carry it in your pocket like that.
I got you.
Yeah. Yeah, this is how it looks. Yeah. Yeah, you're all going to get one in a second. Don't open it. Don't test it. Keep it ready for an emergency. You could carry around, but the likelihood of pushing it exists if you don't leave it in the packaging. If you just have it in your pocket, that red button's easy to push.
What
So
is
you
the
leave it in
life?
package.
What is the life of it?
Oh, very good. So there's a 2-year expiration date, but what we tell you is ignore the expiration date. Not just me. You can Google Narcan expiration date study, Narcan temperature study. What you're going to find out is Narcan's been around 61 years. They did a study last Christmas before last. University of Iowa, Waterloo. They took Narcan from all over the country. They had somebody donate a Narcan from an ambulance squad that was 29 years expired, and it was 99% chemical potency.
Wow.
They also took these sprays that I'm giving you. They did a study 2 years ago. They baked, broiled, froze, put in the snow, put on hot pavement, cooled off, left at room temperature, microwave, all these Narcan. And they all were 100%. Once they returned to normal temperature, they were all 100% potency. The bottom line is you don't have to worry about the expiration date. You can leave it, if you have a motorcycle or bicycle or car, leave it in the glove compartment, leave it in the saddle pouch. Don't worry about the temperature other than frozen. If you travel up north or the Midwest during the snow season and it's snowing, do not leave it in your rental car. It'll freeze in the glove compartment, then it won't work until it thaws out. So don't worry about the expiration date. It has a 3-year expiration date, but ignore it. Good. Any other questions? Okay, good.